Hi guys, this is Sergio, the maker of ZbxWizz. This video is a visual walkthrough of the Getting Started guide, which is published in the ZbxWizz documentation. What we're going to do, we're going to connect to Zabbix, retrieve the hosts, well, some of them at least, from Zabbix. Then I'm going to augment these rows, this host by pulling some new data from Zabbix, and then this data needs to be extracted in the worksheet, and then I will perform an export into a CSV, and as a last step I will do some transformations to modify some fields in the hosts, and then push this data back to Zabbix. So let's go ahead and get started. Now in the first place you need to connect to Zabbix. For this you need to choose the red icon on the top right. Now, as you can see in my situation, everything is already configured. I have the API URL. This is the local instance of Zabbix for testing purposes. Then I have the API token, and then is the query mode. So what this thing is doing, it's specifying the way batch queries are being executed. We talk about batch queries, batch requests when we're doing data pull or data push in Zabbix. Pulling is done when we augment some existing records in the table with additional data from Zabbix, and pushing is basically when we push the data from the rows back into Zabbix, either for creating, updating, or deleting. Okay, so the difference is parallel means all the requests are performed at the same time. It's cool, it's fast, but it could cause problems when writing stuff if you have a lot of data which needs to be written. Then you have sequential, which means each request is done one by one, and the third one is hybrid, which means I split all the requests are split in batches. Like I think the default value is 10, and then inside the batch all the requests are performed in parallel, but the batches themselves are performed sequentially. So let's go ahead and get started. Now what you see here is that this icon is bright red. This is an indication that the connection was successful. Let's modify this a little bit. Now you see it's pale red, it's not working. So that's a visual indication of the connectivity with the Zabbix API. Good. So I want now to import the host. First step is to create a new sheet. Then I can either go here, data import from Zabbix, or I'm just going to choose this button because it's at hand. Now, as I mentioned here in the Getting Started guide, we're gonna retrieve only 2 hosts. Why only 2 hosts? Because that's enough to showcase this scenario. So I'm gonna limit the number of records to 2, and as output I want to have the host name and the description fields, nothing more. I don't want the cluttered interface. I don't need more than this. Okay, what you can see here, we have a visual feedback of the validity of this message. So if I screw it here, you see it's red. Anyway, if I try to execute it, it will complain about it. So here it is. Now I have two hosts. We can see them here as well. Data collection hosts. Okay. So what I want to do now, I want to retrieve extra data for this host. So I have the host and the name, but I also want to retrieve now the interfaces in order to extract the IP from them. So first I'm going to select the rows, the records, and now I'm going to do a pull. Now I have here the message already prepared. Copy, paste, and what you can see here, what we're outputting the IP. So I retrieved only the IP from the host interface, and I select the host ID like this. Right? This whole message is actually a JavaScript template literal. I will put the links in the video description, so you can read more about what JavaScript template literals are. But basically, they allow us to write inside the text JavaScript code, which it will be compiled on runtime, which will be executed, and the result will be interpolated here, basically this one. You can see here already the preview, what happens. And this one is evaluated, this template is evaluated on the first row, right, on this one, on the first selected row. So check out what happens when I deselect them. Now I get this error message, no row selected. Okay, and that's it. Okay, the resource is already selected. Host interface, the data label is Zabbix. I'll show you right away what the data label what this data label means. Execute, and what do you know? We have an error. So let's see what this error does. In order to see what was the problem, I go here on the row menu, click on it, select row info, and what we see here is that not found. What this means is for this specific host, it looks like I don't have any interface defined. Web 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have no interface defined. Okay, let's add one for the sake of this tutorial. Okay, add it, rerun the query, and now we have everything here. Okay, so now the data is retrieved where I can see it. The table was not updated. And the way I can see this data is, again, I go on row info and I'm searching for this data label, ZbX. Now you see here, the data was retrieved and was associated with this label, and now we can access it programmatically using transformations. The way to do this is, let's see, I told you in the tutorial. Okay, I go on column 5 on this one. I choose the transform function, and now I write this expression, data ZbX IP. Okay, apply, and that's it. Now the thing is, both of these IPs were the local host. Yeah, let's modify this one to make it a little bit, to make it different. Update. I will pull the data again. Pull, execute, and apply again. Now you see, it's been updated. Now you notice that these windows don't close when you click on the apply. Why? Because sometimes you just want to apply transformation on multiple columns one by one. So if closing, if then you want to update this one, you'll have to click again on the transform and so on. So for me at least, I find it more comfortable to leave it open. Okay, now that we have this data, let's say we want to create a report with the host and the IPs, and I can just go ahead now and export this as a CSV. Now you can see here, I have a few options. I can export all the records, only the selected ones, or only the visible ones. Now we don't have any hidden records in this case. Hiding records is done by filtering, using the filter here, like this Zabbix, for example. Yeah, now we see only one. So I could say only visible, export, and yeah, it's working. Anyway, now let's move to the last step. And the last step is to transform one of the current fields, one of the current properties of the host, and push the modification back into Zabbix. Again, I'm going to go for the transform, and this time we will modify the description, because description is not something critical from the operation perspective, so you can do it on your own, even on a production system. So the way I'm going to do this, to make it as safe as possible, I will basically append the modification description. Now this one is empty, right? I don't have anything. And on and updated by ZbxWizz. Okay, on column 5, apply, and now with this new data, let's push the new data into Zabbix. Push. I go here to Zabbix Ops, I choose the push, and let's copy the request. Okay. Now we say that we have a problem on this one, and the problem being that bad control string host ID. Let's see what the problem lies. Okay, I'll just redo it. Description, okay, $_ call for. Yep, or I could just do it like this, $4. Same stuff. Okay, we're talking about the host update. I select the host, the operation I select update, and I execute. Now, of course, pushing right into Zabbix is always potentially dangerous operation, so you get this double confirmation to triple, double, triple, quadruple check what you're doing, because yeah, if you push, this kind of operation is irreversible if you push the wrong stuff, right? So always be careful. Confirm, and that's it. Let's go here, see what we have. So web 1 description. I choose the wrong field, so not $4 but $5 again. It doesn't like $5. Very interesting. Okay, I'm just gonna use the column name, call 5. Yes, you know the problem is, I just realized what the problem is. The problem is that we introduced here we introduced a new line. Remember when I applied the transformation? That's bad practice. Apply. Okay, how about now? Now it's perfect. Yeah, the thing is that we cannot have it like this, right? It's not gonna work. Basic new line must be escaped like this. Okay, press on execute, confirm, back to Zabbix to see that it's been updated, and that's it, updated. So that was all, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that was clear enough about how this is working. If any questions, don't hesitate to comment, write to me, open issues on GitHub page, and so on. So have a nice day. Bye.